Why don't you call the meeting to order, please?
Okay. I am not the chair, but in the absence of the chair, I will open this meeting of the Nantucket Parks and Rec Commission.
This meeting is being video and audio recorded. And as a preliminary matter, Parks and Recs, we want to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Rachel Devine.
Present.
Thank you. Bettina Brower.
Present.
Thank you. This open meeting of the Parks and Recreation is being conducted remotely. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will have participation. Please allow the chair to recognize you before you proceed to speak. We will also have Spanish interpretation on a need or case-by-case basis. You will not be interpreting throughout the meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured on the recording. Again, please wait for the Vice Chair today, Mike Kozort, to recognize you before proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Do I have a motion by commission members to approve the agenda for February 15th?
I approve.
Thank you, Nikki, for that motion. Meryl, a second.
Yep.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, we'll go in to our meeting. Is Marina on board? Because I think we have two applications that we wanted to go through first.
Marina is not available today.
Okay. So I will attempt to take us through that. I think I know I've seen Bettina there. We have an application for yoga classes with Bettina at Children's Beach in June. Bettina, would you like to speak to that?
Certainly, this will be our 24th season at Children's Beach. If you all are amenable, we will do as we usually do, start the early 20s of June. I'm not sure which date, but we usually do a week to 10 days at the end of June and go through Labor Day, 6 days a week, 7:30 to 8:30. So it's a 60-minute class, all levels. I've been teaching for 30 years now, and my main focus is always to keep my students safe. I've studied a lot of anatomy, so I feel like I'm capable of keeping everybody safe down there. As I know, it's a town property. And we're having a lot of returning students every year. I even get emails during the winter, making sure that we're going to be on for the next season. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity to teach at Children's Beach, and I ask you to possibly approve this coming season.
Thank you very much. Any questions by any commission members?
Not me.
Given that we've done this for 24 years, I can't imagine that there would be any, but seeing none, can I have a motion to approve this?
I approve.
Nikki and Meryl, a second. All
Yep.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And Bettina, you are all set. You should start thinking now about how you're going to celebrate your 25th year doing this.
I'm already have a t-shirt designed.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And may I be excused now?
Absolutely.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your meeting. Hi, Meryl.
Thank you.
Take care.
And we have an application for a safe place. Is that you, Rachel?
That would be me, yes.
And would you like to speak to that application?
Sure. I am applying. I work for a Safe Place, and this is our 10th annual Walk a Mile for a Safe Place that raises awareness for domestic violence and sexual assault, and also helps fund our survivor programs that are free within the community. Basic walk, leaves Children's Beach, loops through town, comes back. We're not planning to have an actual event at Children's Beach, just some light announcements with a mic and an amp beforehand, maybe playing light music while registration is ongoing. But again, this is our 10th annual. We're potentially going to look into see if Gypsy is going to be open. If not, we might look to see if we could get a sponsor that wants to donate food through a food truck. We're not positive on that, but there will be no big event or anything afterwards. It's just the walk.
Great. Any questions by any of the commissioners?
Not
Through
me.
the Same process. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I approve.
Merrill and second Nikki. All
Second.
those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And seeing none opposed. Rachel, you are all set.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. At this time, I'll turn things over to Charlie Palacci, a Parks and Rec manager. Charlie?
All right, thanks, Mike. What a great turnout we've got here today. Just gonna start at the topic of indoor recreation on Nantucket. So just do a little background for some people who may not be up to speed. So the Nantucket Soccer Club secured some grant funding for a feasibility study to be used to do a feasibility study on indoor recreation in the building. The club presented the funds to the select board, and it was their recommendation that the feasibility study, along with possibly the project, be done privately, is the way the hockey rink was. One of the things they cited was as soon as the town gets involved, costs skyrocket. So before that study can be commenced or kicked off, we kind of need to look around, see what we have for indoor recreation, see what space already exists, are we using it properly, and what do we need, and how do we move forward so we can start to develop a scope of work to drive this feasibility study. So that's why we kind of reached out to a bunch of different people, groups, members of different sports clubs, teams, community school, and everybody to be here, just to kind of start this conversation on what we might be looking to build, where we think the shortcomings are, so we can start to move forward. So I guess I'll kind of pause there and open to see if there's any opening questions, any remarks, or if anybody has anything.
Well, before we get into each individual, I think that we all recognize that there are a lot of things that we have to identify. We have to identify the purposes that this facility would serve. We have to identify the size based on those purposes. We would have to identify the sites that might be available for that before we even get into construction and financing. So I think everybody at the table recognizes that there's a lot to be, a lot of conversations that need to happen. And there may be some question about what order those questions need to be answered. But so Charlie, you would like to just open it up to people to share their thoughts at this point?
Okay, I'll before we fully open it up, I'll just throw out a couple numbers here, just so people, just as we're thinking about it, it's great to think in grand schemes, but just so people have a ballpark idea of what something like this would cost. And so I've kind of been doing a lot of research on different indoor rec facilities, whether they're privately owned, publicly owned, and I've kind of got a rough number on what it costs per square foot to build these sort of facilities. And so you're right around, without the Nantucket factor, which we all know kind of jumps the number, we're looking at about $189 a square foot. Doesn't seem that out of reach. If you were to do a 114,000 square foot building, which is approximately what you would need to cover the synthetic turf field at Nobodier, so that you had the 95,000 square foot field plus some space around it to operate, that building, you'd be somewhere in the neighborhoods of 21 to $25 million. 75,000 square foot building, about 3/4 of a full-size soccer field, about $14 million. So just so we know what, it's not a cheap, simple, quick thing. This would be a pretty serious project and an undertaking, in today. So, any questions about money pricing, or if anybody has any questions about anything we've talked about so far, if everybody just wants to make a statement, I'll open the floor.
Hey, Charlie, this is Brent Tortomella, and other people have been at this way longer than I have, but I think I appreciate you holding the meeting and opening up to this forum. But I think, like Cosworth said a little while ago, we need a strategy, right, of defining needs before we jump to costs. I think costs become an easy target. We know we're talking millions of dollars and land and all that. So I think that's kind of a given. But do we start with a community needs assessment and then jump to, unfortunately, like many others on this call, I travel spring and fall to all these indoor complexes throughout New England. So we know the model's been built, granted different communities and different pricing and all that. But if we do a needs assessment first, can we then align our needs up with a facility that's kind of already been created as a model, and then put the costs associated with that? So we get there in kind of a strategic, planned way. I think it's really easy to have everybody say, react to costs, and then everybody to say what they think the community needs. But so I don't know. That's just my thought of maybe starting with the community needs assessment first, and then go from there. But I really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks, Brent. I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to get with everyone together is, where are the needs? Like I'm not huge into the, I don't have kids, so I don't know really where the shortfalls are, I know what I have scheduled on the fields, town wise now, but where are we missing? And that's kind of the conversation I wanted to get going with people, and, people who are more active in, after school programming, or, have kids, do we need more basketball courts? Do we need, are we finding that the pool is maxed out? And we really feel like we need to have that put in. So that kind of community input is what we're looking for. So we can kind of then approach somebody to do this feasibility study and say, we're missing an indoor, soccer facility. We have, all the gym space that we have is tied up at the moment. So we really feel that we need, more indoor, basketball or multi-purpose courts in that way. Do we need, public meeting rooms or places where we could have, birthday parties, on a sports birthday party for kids or something like that? Is that something we'll be looking for to be built in? Are we looking for, do we need more open space for, different public groups to meet? Are we shortfall in that way? Those are all the sort of the things that I'm looking to kind of get some feedback so we can start to build this. This will be the first of many conversations. So if we get done today and all of a sudden you're like, I really wish we had a climbing wall on Nantucket, or, or something like that, I'll my email's available, and, come back to other conversations. This will be an ongoing thing. So I wanted to kind of keep this free and open on this kind of first one and see what people's initial thoughts were.
I see Peter's hand up, Charlie.
Yep. Peter? Oh, you're on mute, Peter.
Classic. Lowered the hand and kept it on mute. I just want to clarify, I'm here as just a resident of Nantucket. I do work for the Chamber of Commerce, but I don't represent them at all today. I saw the flyer about the info session, and I just want to throw my 2 cents of I am not good at sports, but I love playing sports. I find the gym to be an intolerable experience, but I'll go play a game until I drop, which usually doesn't take too long. But I think to your assessment, what do we need? I can't speak to anyone with kids. I don't have kids. I know, a group of friends and housemates that I represent would love to go play soccer somewhere, or indoor flag football, or I do think adult recreation is a need year round. And we have a lot of great facilities that sure get used, but they're definitely, the last month and a half would be a nice break to go inside and kick the ball around. When I lived off island and on island, you always compare what other places have, and adult rec leagues for all abilities and levels. It really is. It helps with mental health and happiness, and exercise is always a good thing. So I'm not a doctor. I don't have any stats to back that up. I just know it. So I was just raising my hand as a resident of Nantucket and saying that I think any indoor recreation space would be great and greatly appreciated. I appreciate that it's going to have a high price tag based on where we live and all the resources we have available. But I can speak for 2 roommates and 2 coworkers that were here today when a meeting started, and myself, that you got 5 people that are looking for adult recreation space inside. So thanks for hosting.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Jasmine?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jasmine Kasperzak. I work at Nantucket Community School as the gymnastics head coach and also as the sports and wellness coordinator. And if anyone's not familiar, we have basketball, tennis, flag football, dance, Irish step, aquatics, girls on the run, and obviously where I coach gymnastics. And there's plenty of more stuff that we do throughout the year. I'm just coming to speak on the need from the community school standpoint and just what I'm seeing in the community between all the stuff that we have going on for youth kids. Obviously, I think the census is from everyone else is saying. I completely agree. We definitely need an indoor rec facility. In terms of our specific needs, I coach over 120 gymnasts ranging from ages from 1 to 12 years old. And the wait list currently have a wait list of over 63 participants that are waiting to still get into classes. Fortunately, we have completely outgrown the space that we currently have. We're using spaces at the public school, and we just don't have enough storage. We are sharing the space. It's requiring us to break up and set it down and store our equipment into 2 separate schools currently. It's just not feasible for how much we are growing and how much participation there is. With that being said, too, all the other sports that we have going on would obviously love, including gymnastics. And I just wanted to say that we're community school from our representative point. We're 100% on board with this and would love to support this idea. And I really appreciate everyone hosting this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Other comments from participants? Everybody being polite or nothing to say?
Mike, it's Brent Tartamel again. I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand. I got to figure out how to do that. But I'm only going again since nobody else was speaking, just to highlight that it's not. I think if we say this is just for kids, there may be some backlash in the community, right? Because believe it or not, there are people who think there's enough for kids. So I think I would also like to balance it. I think this is really important for the seniors and for adults, right? This facility could hit on all 3. And as Peter said, I mean, mental health and wellness, we know we've had serious problems out here in Nantucket and that we have a big addiction problem. And so a facility like this could really be a multi-pronged community approach to creating a healthier Nantucket. And Charlie, for specifics, I don't really know, right? I mean, it should have an indoor walking track, right? It should have Justin, hopefully you can speak up in regard to fields. Believe it or not, we could use another basketball court, which sounds kind of crazy, and the soccer community needs to be represented. And I know nothing about the pool. I wish I could wake up at 5:30 in the morning and go swimming, but I don't. But I know there's some needs from a pool perspective as well. So I just don't know what I don't know, right? But I know those are needs that are out there. And I think there's probably, not that I like to spend money, but there's probably a professional survey group out there who could do a community-wide town assessment. So we could really gather all the input from all the different languages and all the different constituents to tell us what we need. And it might be money well spent up front. We can probably get that money covered. But to really do it right and understand what people are saying we need.
I think your point is well made, and it's something that we have talked about previously. To have an indoor facility, whatever group or groups it may be targeting, it can be used throughout the day to serve infants through seniors. Given that kids are in school until 2:20, 2:30 every day, there's a lot of opportunity to use that facility by children before they reach school age, as well as seniors. And it could take some pressures perhaps off of the Boys and Girls Club as well. So thank you for making that point, Brent. Others that would like to comment, Justin?
Yeah, I just don't feel like the population of Nantucket people that are participating in athletics is being addressed. As we all have been to the rink recently, and I don't know exactly, but I think there's only 250 or so kids in the hockey program, which obviously is very expensive. It's about $3,000 a head. But field sports is the majority of our youth participation. And during the winter months, there's basketball, which some of the kids play that, but hockey and basketball, they never get canceled. You can go there every single day and you can be sure there's going to be a practice. I'm not talking about, I would love to replace a canceled game, but if the wind kicks up, boats get canceled, then you can only postpone that game. But preventing canceled practices for football, soccer, field hockey, lacrosse, these and just indoor outdoor activities for seniors and whoever, I just think a big facility is greatly needed.
Thank you. Barbara, I see your hand up.
I agree with that we need indoor facility. I don't think that's a question. I think it is about doing a study to figure out what it will do for our island. And you were talking, Michael, that saying, is there going to be meeting spaces? And I think that's something that's missing here on our island, is being able to have a place to gather. That's not a bar. I have a son who does not attend bars, doesn't drink a lot. So, it'd be nice to have a space that had sort of maybe like a cafe with a meeting space and that kind of stuff. And the sports is available, but there's also that. The woman who started this, and I cannot remember her name now, who kind of started this several months ago, that's one of the things she was talking about. And pickleball was another. She'd met some kids that were 20 somethings, and they were kind of, it was the group that was looking for things to do that was healthy, I guess, making healthy choices in their lives, because we were talking about mental health. So I think that needs to be a part of the discussion too. Meeting rooms, a cafe, a space to meet, not just to play sports, but to chat. So I don't know whether it's something that is, that overlooks the space, so there's sort of conversations around that, but I do think that needs to be a part of the conversation.
So I think you were speaking of Jill V.
Yes.
And so thank you. I'm going to point to Corey, and then we'll go to our PB2 after that.
Corey Gamble, thanks for putting this together. I mean, I never thought of a need for meeting space, but you're spot on. I mean, that's what's awesome about this conversation, is the stuff that we need can get thrown out there. I'm very involved in both hockey and lacrosse on the island, help coach the lacrosse team for the high school, been involved with that for a while, and then hockey, run the youth hockey board, as well as involved in the rink and over there all the time. And just to say a couple of things. I mean, from an adult standpoint, as successful as the youth sports are, the hockey and the high school sports are, you can argue the adult sports are the most used there. And it's, I don't think the rink, and Justin can speak to this, saw that as a group that was coming in. So the fact that this group's eyes are wide open, saying the adults can really use it, they will use it. They're using the rink, and it's awesome. And just an indoor space, and the rink's trying to get creative of how they can use the space as well. Everyone clamoring for indoor space. This is needed. we're talking about all the right groups. The high school also needs to be represented too. I mean, when that turf field got shut down at the high school a year or two ago, it was very, very sad. I know for me, it's like, as the officials will say all the time, we have the worst field, that football stadium field in Massachusetts, and there's no question. And we see, unfortunately, injuries from training and everything else. And so the fact that we're not as open as a community to turf fields when we need them, this just provides space that kids can get out there and train earlier. And it's not all about training to become the best athletes, training just to have something to do. So this will get used by everybody, and it's question mark, which I love about this, is making sure all user groups are in it, whether it's the climbing wall, which is again something I hadn't thought of, but I love meeting space. You know, I'm like, basketball court, who's thinking basketball court? And then in my head, I'm like, wait a second, you know, if we're building a steel frame building, at some point you add on extra feet and you can get a basketball court out of it. You can shrink the turf space. You don't need a full-size turf field. You're not going to play games in there. So I love that we're just being creative with this. And I just want to say it's that both the high school and I know the youth sports will use this very, very heavily. So thank you for everybody for taking initiative here.
Thanks, Corey. We'll go to where did that person go?
It's Rich Brannigan the second.
Oh, is that
Mr.
Rich?
Cozart.
Okay.
Yes. How are you?
Hey, Rich.
Thanks for putting this meeting together, everybody. I am the former director of the Nantucket Student Soccer Association, past 20 years. A lot of us here are involved in youth sports, and I looked through the call list. I see a good number of high school coaches on this call as well. Not only was I the former director at the Nantucket Soccer Club, I am about 25 years in with the boys soccer team at Nantucket High School. So I've seen a lot of change on the island. I've seen a lot of significant growth on the island, not only in youth sports, but in the general size of our community, population-wise, as well as a more active adult population. You know, when I was 16 and 17 and we were playing men's league soccer out at a cow pasture over what is now part of the Myacomet golf course, you know, things have come a long way since then. And really, the purpose for me speaking today is to, you know, fully support the idea of an indoor complex, a community rec center, you know, and I want to highlight the word community. This really, you know, can't be about one sport or one concept. It has to be a multi-pronged approach to include as many people in the initial conversation, but then hopefully in the long run to provide a end result product, which, you know, myriads of people within our community are happy with and can utilize. And, you know, I've heard a few people say, you know, from toddler to senior, and that's really the position we have to take, from toddler to senior. And, you know, a facility that would function for all sports, you know, hockey, dry land training, you know, and on bad weather days, you know, baseball is a sport that hasn't been mentioned today, but, you know, throwing, pitching, and catching, you know, inside a facility when their season in the spring is usually always delayed because of, you know, the unfortunate spring weather cycles that we have out here. So, you know, my point is we've seen a lot of change on Nantucket. We need to adapt to a large, you know, community-based concept, and, you know, a healthy community is a happy community. And, you know, from that toddler pre-K age all the way up through our seniors, you know, we can all benefit from this concept. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Other comments, thoughts? Bill T.
Hi, thank you. Bill Trinavish. I'd like to thank Rich for mentioning baseball and the lack of indoor practice facilities for that sport, as well as softball, which I've coached for quite a few years. Just yesterday, my daughter was talking about trying to get some girls ready for the upcoming season. She's going to be the head coach, replacing Chris Morey. And the lack of the ability to get the girls out and throwing this time of year, especially with the weather the last couple of days. And if anybody's ever gone out to the Nobodere Fields in March and April, it's warmer in the ice rink usually to coach out there. But that's I appreciate everybody's input, and it's definitely a need in this community. Thank you for taking this project on.
Thank you, Bill. There are a few other people watching, listening. We'd invite you to share your thoughts or just listen.
Hi, Mr. Cosart. Hi,
Hello,
everyone.
Maria.
Hi, this is Maria Partida here, and my son, Jose Reyes. We are very happy to be part of this meeting. It is very important. Everybody agrees that it needs to be done, and I'm happy that it's happening. And I hope I can speak for my Spanish community, the adults, and now the mothers, the moms, that we also need our space to come and do some walking and exercise when the weather is bad. Yeah. Getting together, why not? And especially because I've seen the men struggling from jumping from one place to another because they don't have a place to be during the winter, even during the summer, after work hours. And they've always been trying to, play soccer and try to stay away from trouble. And I think this is a great idea. And if there's any way we can help getting any ideas from the community, let us know.
Thank you. Thanks. Any other thoughts? Oops. I don't see any other hands raised. I will share that while we do need to consider all the purposes, the different purposes that a facility like this could serve, and that's critically important, and I think that there are many, the challenge will be how many might become too many, if you follow me, because if we are trying to provide an indoor facility that serves swimming, soccer, lacrosse, baseball, golf, pickleball, you can imagine what could happen with the size of this. And we're going to have to be creative. Somebody mentioned to me, actually, it was Maureen, that one way of doing this is to talk about the needs and then talk about the size, but the site that are available may dictate the size and therefore what we serve. So it's, there are different schools of thought out there as to how this can come about. And so I think it's going to be really interesting going forward as we try to be as inclusive as we can. So personally, I love the idea of whatever we have a track going around it, which can serve a multitude of purposes without adding too much space. Charlie, I'm going to send it back to you, and you can choose. I see Justin's hand up, but and you can bring it back around.
Yeah, I'll just go right to Justin.
Well, I think that, you know, maybe we have all these different activities, but do we really have to put them all in one building? Because as Dawn said at the last select board meeting, she said we might have to have more than one building. You know, maybe one building goes in one location, another one goes nearby that holds the pickleball courts, or maybe pickleball and more basketball courts, and of course, you know, a multi-use court. And there could be an indoor field with curtains where you can have one sport being played on the left-hand side, and then t-ball or softball could be practicing the other side. So I don't think we should have to limit it. You know, let's find out everything that we need, and maybe we need more than one building.
I don't disagree with you, and I think at the same time, we're talking about purposes. Charlie and or somebody will need to be meeting with the town and the land bank to talk about possible sites. And you're right, it could be not one site, but two sites, depending on what the needs are.
So
Or
what
three.
Justin brought up is a little bit what I alluded to when I kind of started talking about assessing the current facilities that we have, and are we utilizing those to their maximum potential. So let's say basketball courts, for instance. You know, there's a basketball court at the Boys and Girls Club, and I believe 4 within the public school system. Each school has their own. So are those being utilized to their best ability before we go and build 3 more basketball courts? It's cheaper to hire 1 or 2 people to keep those facilities open and functioning, if that's the reason we're not utilizing, than it is to add maybe, you know, those sports into a facility where we better use, you know, we could use that much more space to have, you know, another you know, an indoor tennis court or something like that, to that extent, you know. So part of those things are all of what we're talking about, is make sure that we're utilizing all of our current space to its potential, to really identify the deficits. We go, okay, there really is no place for, you know, lacrosse and soccer to get those spring practices in when it's bad weather, because we don't, you know, playing on a basketball court is nowhere, you know, the same as playing on a synthetic turf field inside. So there's an identified deficiency. You know, do we, like, if we had an adult volleyball league, for instance, do we need to fit that into the new facility, or is the intermediate school gym open at nights? We just need to find somebody who we could hire, you know, to do that. So those are the sort of things that all kind of get flushed out with this, to make sure that when we get to what we're going to build, we're maximizing all of these different buildings, you know, to reach our full potential. And I see Rich has his hand up.
Oh, yeah, here I am. I just wanted to respond to a comment I heard a minute ago. I wouldn't be too concerned about how we're going to manage the space, and maybe Mr. Kozort referenced this. You know, there eventually there'll be a management company or a group that is in charge of, you know, managing the space, doling it out to X, Y, and Z, you know, organizations. I don't think that's a concern at this moment, but I think the major concern is just bringing all the stakeholders to the table, understanding what every different group, Salt Marsh Center, you know, all the way down to the preschools. What do these organizations need? What could they use? And then at the end of the day, you know, we hear everybody out, and then, you know, 10 years down the line, we have a facility built. The management company deals with how that space gets doled out. I wouldn't even worry about that at this moment. Thank you.
Yeah, I just to clarify, I don't think I was worried, Rich, about who manages it, so much as how quickly will any facility that we build be maxed out based on the groups that may need it. And that'll be a nice problem to have, I suppose, if and when it happens. So Charlie, where do you want to go from here?
I mean, I've got a pretty good list of things that we've started to, kind of, the wants and needs. Trying to figure out what really the next step is if nobody else has anything like to add in or any, I would say no idea too wild at this stage of the game. Is this where we add a bowling alley? In is it there's at this point, if no idea is too wild, I would say, and we put in a big pond like a Bass Pro Shop and teach fly fishing. There's endless things that you could do in a space at this point. So just I'll invite people to get my email address available on the town website. If you wake up one morning like I would really love to have, an indoor bike racing facility or BMX track, just shoot me an email, we'll add it to the list and we'll work on refining it.
I appreciate that Jasmine is here representing the community schools. I think it's going to be critical to get probably Travis Lombardi here as the athletic director of the schools to talk about what they would see as the needs and the current use of their facilities. Because I can speak to when I was there as superintendent that the middle school and high school were booked pretty solid from morning till 8 or 9 at night, and the intermediate school was becoming more and more booked. Probably the opportunity there would be the elementary school, but I think we'll want to bring Travis or some representative from the schools in at a subsequent meeting. And I see Barbara's hand is back up.
Is there a way to list what we have here? It sounds kind of silly because we're an island, but like you guys are mentioning things that I didn't necessarily know were here. I've lived here full time almost 4 years, but been on the island for a lot longer than that, but full time. So is there a place, is that in the Park and Recs? Maybe that's the first place to start, is to determine what we really have here that can be used.
Yeah, I can work on a list of what we have and reach out to different adult leagues, and maybe we can get it posted on the Parks and Rec webpage as to what different groups are currently using what spaces, and and all the way down to there's a dart league, and that sort of thing. Maybe get all those things collectively in one place so people know what's going on and where, and how to expand
And find out, like you were saying, the middle school's used but not fully used. Like what's in there that can be used, and how do we find that out and what it's being used for?
Sure.
Nikki?
Thank you.
Nikki?
Yeah. Sorry, I was on mute. So here's a question. How about, so it's all well and good with like the middle school kids and, the high school kids using the schools. What does, let's say, the new school or the Lighthouse school, what do they have? Because they don't participate. They do when they get in high school, obviously, unless they're going off island. But, what do they participate in? What do they have at their facility that they're able to use and be able to, to have? Because yes, they do swimming and they do hockey and skating, but I don't see where they really have anything else. I mean, and then what about strong wings? Is there something that we can utilize there?
I can say that the two private schools often join the middle school teams for field sports and basketball. They're invited to. And certainly they use the Boys and Girls Club as well, but they don't have, neither of them have gym facilities, although Strong Wings is a component of an outdoor climbing wall and challenge course, and they're right by the Nobodere fields. The new school is anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Other
Jasmine has her hand up.
Jasmine?
I just wanted to say that I think it's a great idea, definitely, to if somebody wants to reach out, Charlie, to Travis and make sure that we get Travis on board in these future conversations. Speaking from a community school standpoint, we are in the public schools at the community school. Just to give an example, I know we're talking a lot about usage and current usage. Currently, right now, in the main facility that we work at with our elementary school gym is booked Monday through Friday from the second school is out of session to the second we can be here until the max amount of time. We have gymnastics happening, girls on the run, Irish step, 3 different styles of dance classes happening, and that's just in this one gym. I know all of the other gyms from a public school standpoint are pretty maxed out. All that but just I know that won't have jewels for those type of things. So I'm definitely happy to speak on that. Also, I know we're talking about a list, and Charlie, we do a lot at the community school, and I think a lot of people are unaware of that, of how much we offer. We have a bunch of information on our website, but if it's helpful, I'm definitely happy to email you, Charlie, a list of just exactly all of the sports and wellness activities. We have yoga classes, the list just goes on, but I'm definitely happy to share that. Thank you.
Absolutely. I've got written down, call Jasmine tomorrow. Yeah, so be expecting a call.
I look forward to it. Feel free to call my extension anytime.
All righty.
Any other comments or thoughts? I don't see any hands raised. Any of the commissioners, Nikki or Merrill, anything to add?
Not really. I mean, I could go on, but a lot of the stuff has actually been, discussed, and it could go on for weeks. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, just recently, my friend has gathered a group of people to play kickball. And now we're looking, everyone's like, oh, do you have an in at the Boys and Girls Club? Maybe we can get a way to play inside until it gets nicer out. And so this is timely topic.
Jasmine, I saw your hand again.
Yeah, sorry. I just heard Mandy, you mentioned the new school and the Lighthouse School, and I definitely want to make sure that we're being inclusive and making sure we're representing everything in these initial discussions. From a gymnastics standpoint, a lot of our participants are coming from the new school and the Lighthouse School if they are not the age of middle school just yet. There's just about, I would say, almost nearly half of each of my classes have kids from either private school or homeschool. So they're definitely also those type of kids who are going to private school are definitely also wanting to have these options. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Dano, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. How's it going? Yeah, I'm a young father of 2, and I've always thought there needs to be an activity center because I can't go to Stop and Shop every morning with my son to let him run around and do stuff. But I think you have to look at Nantucket as almost like a college town or college campus where the college or the town can provide a rec center that kind of has a lot of things. It's almost a meeting place, not just for activities or sports, because there's a lot of talk about high school sports, but the bulk of the time, the high school sports, they have enough facilities with basketball courts that they're using. And these are not just for all ages, and having a cafe. So if you want inspiration to look at some rec centers at small colleges that have gyms that are affordable, rock climbing walls, pools, just a main space for it. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. And Corey?
Yeah, one just comment, and this is probably more a statement towards Charlie, is something to think about, is the rink made a big investment a little over a year ago to get a floor that's a multi-purpose floor they've done some events on, and that space now can be used for anything indoor rec. Now, the negative of that space is you can't turn it on a dime, right? It's about a 4 to 5 hour turnover to get the floor down. And I mention it just as information. We do have an indoor space as we're trying to think of things that how can we use this. There's small experiments we might be able to make by using that rink, whether we take it over for a weekend and get a kickball league in there, I'm just spitballing here is there is an indoor facility in the rink that wants to try and get used as a resource in this way. It's imperfect because it can't transition on a dime, but just something for everybody to keep in mind that space does exist. I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah. We mentioned that at a previous meeting. Charlie, did you have a discussion with the rink manager?
Briefly, I've kind of talked to Brian, and again, the trouble there is the manpower and the time it takes to turn the rink from a hockey rink into another facility. So, you know, in the heart of hockey season, it's very difficult to squeeze in anything else. Because, you know, by the time, you know, at night, by the time everyone's done practicing, you know, they need to resurface the ice. It'd be, you know, and then the time it would take to get everything laid out, you'd be the following morning that you're there to play, and then they're going to be tearing it all down for morning practices.
Yeah, no,
it's just tough with the amount of manpower and what it takes to get that set up.
I couldn't agree more. My one just comment back, you're spot on. It's the transition, it's the friction on the edges. There's no question. It's, you know, I'm just thinking as an experiment, you know, whether it takes 2 weeks in the spring when that rink doesn't get utilized much, could we do something then just to see who wants to use it type thing, you know?
Yeah, that'd be you know, once the hockey season ends, that, you know, it could be a great space where maybe baseball and softball are doing, you know, pitchers and catchers, you know, on that surface. Could be a possibility. It's just, you know, so unfortunately we don't have the crew that the Boston Garden has to flip, you know, from basketball to hockey, you know, that fast.
Yeah.
And
But
understanding,
I think there's
Corey,
definitely potential for utilization once the hockey season in particular finishes.
and understanding, Corey, with all my hockey parent friends, that the season is 8 months long.
Yeah, we'd like it to get shorter. You're not wrong. I'd like to argue. Yeah, it's like.
Thank you. Liz?
Thank you. I'm Liz Winship. It's my first meeting, and I'm hoping that being old and a little bit physically challenged, I might bring some interest to the discussion. But what I was wondering, first of all, is do you have to pay for the ice rink if you were going to rent it for any type of venue? I'm sure they're not just going to give it out.
I mean, I can't speak to, what I can tell you is you rent it per hour. If it was like, if we were to do like 2 weeks, I'm not in a position to say what it'd be, but they'd be amenable to talking, like if it's off season, like if it's springtime. Does that make sense? But it is a community facility that has to make a certain amount of money to cover operations, right?
Right,
So,
right. That's what I was going to say. It's probably, great for a wedding or.
sure, but they're trying to be creative, I mean, I love this conversation because it's all about creativity, and that's the rink's trying to get creative I'm not trying to pitch it. I'm just trying to open it up. Yeah,
no, I think it's great. Okay, thanks.
Florencia?
Hi, I don't have a comment. I just want to say something in Spanish in case there's anyone listening that would like to speak in Spanish. We do, tenemos un intérprete, así que si alguien quiere preguntar o hacer algún comentario en español, Leonel está disponible. Y si quieren mandar preguntas en español, lo pueden hacer a frulo con 2 L's @nantucket-gmail.com. Gracias. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Leonel's ready and waiting, I think.
Si necesitan hacer una pregunta en español, me lo pueden hacer.
I just saw someone new come on, Stancheva, BC.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I am a mother of 2 boys. I'm a soccer mom, and also from the new school, so we didn't get to use a lot from the public school or community school. I just wanted to say, and I'm also on the board of our we opened a it's called Sustainable Sports Foundation, that we want to connect and help kids who can't access tennis courts, who can't afford the soccer club or any other sports and so forth. And our long-term goal actually is to work towards an indoor facility. And the conversation actually came up, but we weren't ready or prepared to even speak about it, but we're happy to help and sit on the same table with everyone, all the organizations, and help facilitate, connect everyone, and actually raise funds, write business plans, anything that we can all, because we all come from different backgrounds, anything that we can facilitate. And I would not like to wait 10 years if that's possible, because my kids are going to be gone by then. But I really wanted to say thank you for everyone to show up, and to say that we're here, but I would like in person for us to meet if possible, and to connect, and hopefully soon, maybe after the school vacation.
Thank you, Charlie.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, we got a thumbs up on iPhone 7. I think I'm pretty happy with how this meeting went. I don't know if anybody, commissioners, anybody have anything?
No, I think the question will be, or what we should say is that every one of the Park and Recs meetings will have this as a standing agenda item. However, we also need to recognize that we may have other items that we have to tend to. So each meeting that the Parks and Rec has won't be solely dedicated to the indoor facility, but we'll have something to talk about and something to share at each meeting.
Yeah, we'll keep it as an ongoing agenda, and maybe once a month have it be the highlighted item, or we'll something like that. We can work that as the commission.
Okay, I don't see any other hands up or people who have a point to make at this time. And seeing that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Nikki?
Yep.
Got it?
Adjourn.
And
I second that.
Meryl, okay. Thank you all very, very much for attending, and we will try to keep you all on our list going forward so that you're notified of future meetings and what we might be talking about specifically at those meetings. So thank you very much. Maureen, we're all set.